The first ever RSL speaker review. This is the CG23M. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about this RSL. We have a lot to go over with this speaker. As you can see, it's an MTM design. That means mid to mid. Looks like a center channel. That's because you can use it as a center channel, or you can use it vertically. They sent me a pair, so I was running these as my left and my right speakers. Had them in my living room on TV duty, home theater duty, I don't know, for about a month or so. To give you some size perspective, this is how big it is compared to a AAA battery. Yeah. And a guitar pick. These come in at $149 a piece, okay? So it's $300 for a pair. Not too shabby. Has a vinyl wrap very similar to the Stage series from JBL, Stage A130. Similar to the Sony SSC S5. It's not piano gloss. This is an affordable speaker with an affordable wrap that's well done and looks just fine. The woofers, there's two of them, obviously. They are dual 4-inch mineral filled. I don't know what mineral it is. Could be magnesium, calcium. Who knows? It's a mystery. Mineral filled woven fiber. Mineral filled woven aramid fiber. Comes with Y35 high grade ferrite magnets. I'll have to take their word for it because I have no idea what any of that means. I don't even know what a mineral is. Two ports right here, slotties. Now, we need to talk about how RSL does their porting. It's kind of like a transmission line. If you don't know what a transmission line is, it's kind of like a maze before air gets out of the speaker. What it does is gives you better bass response. This isn't technically a transmission line, but it's also not just a ported speaker. So there is some travel. And I talked to our resident expert, Neil. He's one of my patrons. Speaker builder. He says it's good, so I believe him. It's good. Sensitivity of 89 dB, which is pretty good for a speaker of this size. What does sensitivity mean? Basically it means how loud is going to play at 1 watt at 1 meter. 89 dB, pretty good. Means you're not going to have a ton of power to get these playing their best. And it has a low frequency response of 80 Hertz, which isn't too low, but we'll get to that later. Let's talk about soundstage and imaging. If you're new here, please subscribe and like this video. I do this for a living, so it means the world to me if you would subscribe and like this video. I have over 600 videos, DACs, speakers, turntables, amps, speakers, turntables. So there's probably something out there for you. So please like this video and subscribe. As I stated before in this video, I've had them in the living room for about a month. And it gives me an idea of, I learn a lot about a speaker just watching TV and movies through it. And what I'll say is these have a locked center image. It's very good because there's no like huge waveguide per se. I think it uses the entire front baffle as a waveguide. But I think with these woofers, whatever it's doing, provides a very broad throw. And the center image was always locked on. I didn't even use a center channel with these for quite some time until this week. I was just running them as left and right. And I said there was no center channel on my receiver. So everything went through the left and right. Never once was I worrying about a center channel speaker. It sounded great. Now, with some mixes on some shows or some movies, you want a center channel to bump up the dialogue. However, dialogue was never hard to hear. It was never veiled and it was never covered up. It was nice and clean and clear. I was also listening to Wherever I May Roam by Metallica here in the office. And the 12-second mark or 14-second mark goes way right. Sounded really good. They soundstage and image really well. And they were a lot of fun watching The Mandalorian. There's all sorts of stuff coming from the side. I don't have a huge home theater system in my big living room because I can't get rears around there. I'm trying to figure a way out to do that. Anyway, great soundstage and imaging. Let's talk about bass. Bass. I'm going to old school. Got my notes. I almost dropped the speaker. All right, bass. Waffle by Sevendust. If you haven't heard that song, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Had it sung at my wedding. Just kidding. Waffle is a really punchy song, and at the 10-second mark, the bass comes in. Tonally, it was really good. It sounded really clean, very separated, and that's going to be a bit of a reoccurring theme here. With a roll-off of 80 hertz, you can get these right up against the wall, and you may want to if you're not running a subwoofer. You should probably run a subwoofer. And when you think of RSL, generally people think of subwoofers. But Waffle had a bit of a punch, but not to the extent of other speakers. But those other speakers don't necessarily have the cleanliness of the bass. Narcissistic Cannibal by Korn, 52 seconds in. There's a doo-doo. Couldn't hear it. And I didn't expect to hear it with a speaker that rolls off at 80. Intergalactic, though, from the Beastie Boys, does have a significant amount of punch. I think the takeaway here for bass is that it's clean and it's accurate. There's not a ton of it, but the speaker also isn't saying that. It goes down to 40 hertz. Bass, overall, very good, very clean, very textured, not smeared, not covered up. Excellent. Let's talk about mid-range. Lena Hall, Creep. Incredible track. Incredible cover. 21 seconds. She goes, feather. It was delicate and accurate. And again, clean, clean, clean. Wasn't too thick. Wasn't too thin. Very neutral. Give Me One Reason by Tracy Chapman. Acoustic guitar was again plucky, clean, not too thick, not too thin. And her voice, again, clean, accurate. Hurt, the cover of Nine Inch Nails by Johnny Cash. That song is recorded so he is really in front of the band. And I can use that song to tell, hey, is the mid-range recessed, or is the mid-range neutral, or is the mid-range really forward? And he came in pretty much in the right place, if just a bit forward. I think these speakers have a tendency to really, maybe there's a bump in the mids here or there. I don't know what the frequency response is. But to be fair, I always think that a flat speaker sounds mid-forward, because I like the rock and roll. I like the V shape. Lots of bass, lots of treble. With that said, I think the mid-range is right in line. Let's talk about treble. With voices, with acoustic guitars, there was a lot of air, a lot of vibrato that I heard in the voices and in the acoustic guitars. I think the air on here is exceptional for a soft dome tweeter. A lot of times a soft dome, silk dome tweeter they do great with vocal tonality and instrument tonality with percussion, but sometimes they lack a little bit of air unless they're really boosted. And in some cases, if they're really boosted, there's a little bit of a harshness and briefness in like cymbal hits. And I did hear a little bit of that in this speaker. Harvester of Sorrow, the cymbals were a little bit brief, and the attack on them, the initial hit on them, sounded slightly unnatural. Air is good, but occasionally the cymbals can sound a little bit like white noise piped in at the right frequency at the right time. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm not saying it's maybe a little bit distracting. But with a pair of speakers at $300, I don't really expect it to be perfection, especially in the upper treble. Sunday Bloody Sunday, a little band called U2. The percussion at the beginning of that, as far as snare drums, was very accurate. So the majority of the treble, the majority of the hits, the majority of the air, great. So what are my final thoughts? I think this speaker excels at a few things. Instrument separation, accuracy of tone for instruments, especially percussion outside of cymbals. I think the bass is textured, again, accurate, doesn't go low though. So this speaker needs a subwoofer. If you're listening to music, even in a small room, this speaker benefits from being closer to a wall. And with the front port, I wouldn't say it's meant for the wall, but it does have threaded inserts to be mounted on a wall. I think some people would say that this is a home theater speaker, and while I would agree with that, this is no slouch when it comes to music, and it reminds me of some of my favorite speakers. One of which is the ELAC Unify 2.0. It's a three-way concentric. This thing images very similar to that. The other speaker that it sounds like is the Ascend Acoustic CBM 170 SE. That speaker had accuracy and tonality and sounded like the KEF LS50. I know this is going to get some hate, but for $300, you can get that KEF LS50 sound. And just like the LS50, not a lot of bass on this speaker. And that's not a slight against this speaker. That's a slight against the KEF LS50. I was running these in the living room off the Pioneer VLX VX305, which is a very capable receiver. In the office, I had the Wing Pro going into the Geshelli Labs J2, going into the Schiit Lear, and then going into the Schiit Lokius, and then finally going into the Schiit, I'm not going to get this right, Lar Horns. It's their new speaker amp. 20 watts, because I had it bridged. For me, I got these sounding pretty much where I wanted to, with a little bit of an EQ. Brought up the bass a little bit, and actually what I did was I brought down the mid-range a titch, and that gives me the sound that I like. I'm not sliding the speaker because I think this is a very neutral speaker, and I think most speaker manufacturers would strive and work hard to get the frequency response on this, obviously maybe with a little bit more bass. These speakers, I think, are fairly priced at $300, and if you package in a subwoofer, you get a bigger discount. One of the things about RSL was there was overwhelmingly positive response when I did the unboxing. I did not see one negative comment about RSL. I was told their customer service is fantastic. From my point of view, they've been great. Very easy to work with. They don't have any restocking fees, and I think they have a 30-day in-home trial. So you can bring them home, try them out, and if you don't like them, send them back. Overall, for $300, I think this is a spectacular speaker. It's not going to be right for everyone, especially if you don't want a subwoofer and you're running these for music. Home theater, music with a sub, I don't think you can go wrong. I really like that you can use this as a center or for a left or a right. It's got threaded inserts, everything you could possibly want. I'm impressed. So if you want to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/cheapaudioman. Every Sunday night we have patron-only Zooms, patron-only Discord, patron-only Facebook. You can also sign up for Amazon Music, Tidal, or Roon. Links in the description. Click sign up. Usually about a 30-day trial period. Even if you quit, I get a couple of dollars. You can use the links in the description. Those are affiliate links. However, I don't think I have an affiliate relationship with RSL. And finally, you can use the thanks button down at the bottom of this video next to the share button. Buy me a cup of coffee. Don't feel compelled to buy me anything. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen, maybe through your new RSL speakers, and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.